Welcome to IGO. That stands for In Good Order. This is the podcast for financial professionals looking to scale with confidence and clarity. I'm Ben Braverman, Senior Consultant at SMS Financial Solutions, and now it's time to get in good order. Today on IGO episode 11, we'll be talking to Heather Bunja from the Admin Effect. This is going to be especially applicable to our offices that are currently listening or our future listeners who are definitely in growth mode. We have a lot of offices either exceeding or on the cusp of that $10, $15, or $20 million sweet spot. And it's at that point, from a scale perspective, that even if you have an office manager, does it make sense to bring on additional resources? We'll be discussing how the Admin Effect helps that today. And I also hope to get from Heather and her team if they've run into similar challenges in terms of producers in the field, sometimes not quite always getting there immediately in terms of the need for a service like the Admin Effect, for those additional hires, for that additional investment in your practice. So, Heather, welcome.
Hi, Ben. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to share our story and share some information about the Admin Effect.
We really appreciate you being on. It was really fortuitous how we came about. I believe I connected initially with Caitlin Graham, who's the CEO of the Admin Effect, and we got connected in our first conversation. I automatically thought of producers who could leverage the service. Before we get into the service itself, do you mind sharing a little bit about your background? And then we can dive into the Admin Effect and it's how we can apply it to our current producers and future producers here at SMS.
Perfect. Sure. So this is my 10th year working in the financial services industry. I worked for about 8 years at a very large IMO. And after that, I came to work for the Admin Effect with Caitlin. I had known Caitlin from the IMO. She worked there for about 8 years. I knew that she had left and started something else. I wasn't really sure what that was. Caitlin worked for about 8 years. She had done everything from contracting and licensing, case management, sales associate, helping advisors, running illustrations, kind of a catch-all for everything. She was looking to do something different, as was myself. So Caitlin started contracting with some advisors part-time, and she would help them to pre-fill annuity applications, open up AUM accounts, do rollover calls with clients, follow-ups, chasing money, all of the things that are time-consuming and an advisor shouldn't be doing. So in about 9 months' time, she went from 2 part-time to 9 full-time advisor offices. And Caitlin was like, okay, there's a need for this. So how I like to say it, Ben, is that's when the Admin Effect was born. I feel like that's when we really started, and that's when our niche came to be. So I had reached out to Caitlin again 2 years ago. I came on with her. I started pre-filling applications. I was a client operations specialist. I was helping advisor offices. We had an advisor, and he was looking to have somebody do some calls for him and book some appointments. So I stepped into that role, and I was booking like 7 to 8 appointments a week, which apparently is unheard of. And Caitlin said, you need to be doing this for us. So fast forward, I am the business development specialist here. I'm the lead and head of sales and marketing here at the Admin Effect. And we have been just crushing it. Our business has tripled this year alone in revenue, and we are helping advisors all over the country.
That's fantastic. I like that story so much too, because financial advisors are fundamentally entrepreneurs, right? They're the CEOs, CFOs, CTOs, CMOs, CDOs, what have you, of all these small businesses.
Yes.
And I feel when you join a practice, you too are, in a sense, an entrepreneur, and you are buying into that differentiator of the narrative. So that's awesome how you came together with Caitlin and how Caitlin formed the Admin Effect. From there, let's get into the tactical. What are some of the things that the Admin Effect does for producers on a day-to-day basis, including
So
RIAs and independent agents?
yeah. So by the time we're getting in touch with an advisor or an advisor office, it's typically because there's a big need. They're feeling that crunch, that pain. They have a bottleneck somewhere in their operations. So with them coming to us at the Admin Effect, we are able to help save them time. We are the experts. We have been doing this for so many carriers and so many offices. We know the ins and outs of the, as we like to say, turning NIGOs into IGOs. So
Like it.
those not in good orders into good orders. But we very seamlessly integrate into their operation system. We typically get an email address, we get logons to their CRM, and from day one, it is plug and play, and we're able to start taking those tasks off of their plate that make the biggest impact for their office. So if it's pre-filling annuity applications prior to an appointment, that's what we're going to do. If they say, well, we have that down pretty good, we have someone that's handling that, but the AUM and the AUM rollover calls with the client are very time consuming, which we all know they are, then that's the task that we'll take. We want to take on the tasks that make, again, the biggest impact for the office to get them and their business paid and funded, issued faster.
Turning NIGOs into IGOs. Is that
Yes.
trademarked? Because if I use that to promote IGO, we could do some last minute branding.
Oh, you
Uh,
have to ask Caitlin about that one. That's
I'll,
her famous one, turning NIGOs into IGOs. I mean, that's what we do, really. We have been doing this for so long, and almost everyone that works for us has industry experience. They've come from large IMOs, carriers, advisor's office. So we've kind of seen it all and done it all. And we understand that whole process, Ben, from start to finish. We understand, why is the advisor selling this product to the client? Why are they giving up this product? You know, why is this a good fit for the client? We understand that whole picture. And I feel like a lot of times operation offices at advisors, they only understand part of the picture. They don't understand the whole picture. Why did he sell this product to the client? Why is the client giving this up? But wait, they're gaining that. So it's really important. And I think something that we do here at the Admin Effect is we understand that whole picture of the process.
let's identify who the advisor is. Ideally, let's just focus on annuities. From an annuity
Perfect.
perspective,
hmm
it's someone doing a minimum of $15 million in annuities on an annual basis, and that's someone that would qualify for the first tier of your services.
And correct. And it also would be someone who has current staff in their office. Um, while we would like to help everyone, it's a little more challenging if they don't already have staff. So someone who has an assistant or already has a front desk person, an operations person, something like that in their office, because we are not there to replace them, but rather be an extension of that team, right? So we're there to support and help. Again, it's typically the time is the problem. When we're joining these teams, they're saying, we're doing new business, we're doing, follow ups, funding. It's a lot of hats they're wearing, and there's just not enough hours in the day. So that's, again, where we're coming in, being an extension arm of that team. And we work in conjunction with them to help them.
You'll train that office admin or whatever their title may be, so their time becomes exponentially more valuable relative to
That's
the
right.
overall
So
office.
about a year and a half ago, our core business is that we do the work business. And that's where we're integrating in, jumping right in, and we're helping with that operations and helping to streamline. However, about a year and a half ago, Caitlin found that there was a real need in the industry for not only operations, but other staff and advisor offices that were lacking the information. They weren't understanding why they were filling this out on an application. They just knew to check the seventh box down on the application. And she believes that there's a real value in educating people and helping them to understand the why behind the sale, because that helps you to be able to complete the paperwork or to complete the replacement or to ask the right questions of a releasing entity or carrier. So, Caitlin created what she calls her new business intensive course. And that is a course that's hosted here in our home office in Cornelius, North Carolina, in person. It's a 2-day course. And we have had advisors send their staff. We have had IMOs send their staff. We actually, in December, have a carrier sending some of their staff in to be trained. So, it's beneficial for everyone.
Is that sometimes a standalone request from an office where they don't use the admin effect on a monthly basis, but use this boot camp to get their staff or their staff members where they need to be from an operational perspective?
Absolutely. The new business intensive course is a service in itself. And there are often times where an office is running and they've been running for quite some time. In fact, we just had a attendee a few months ago, and she's been in the industry and working for an advisor for over 13 years. And she said, but I'm still going to come to the course. I'm not sure I'll get anything out of it. And within 2 hours of being here, the very first day, she said, I'm sending 3 more people from my office to this course. Everyone needs to attend this new business intensive course.
Would you help advisors? Because we're seeing a huge shift of registered reps going RIA only,
Yes.
leaving the broker dealer channel, joining an RIA, and simply being under the auspice of NIAC and the SEC. Repapering sometimes is the biggest reason why an advisor stays in what might not be the most favorable business situation
Right.
for them or their clients. Is that something you're helping with as well? The repapering process?
We do not. We typically are only helping with new business.
Okay.
So we help with annuity, new business, and of course, again, the AUM. So just opening up those applications, pre-filling the paperwork, submitting it for e-signatures to the client and carrier, and submitting it, and then following up on that submitted business.
With the $15 million offices and above, and I've had these conversations with advisors, you need to get some type of help within your office. You shouldn't,
Absolutely.
even at 10 million, even
Mhm.
maybe there's a threshold, it seems, at like 5 to 10, where if an advisor's doing their own paperwork, they're ultimately sacrificing growth. What do you think is the biggest objection? And it's not, maybe you have another point to make, which I'm all ears, but the biggest objection from advisors, not cost prohibit, but is it the control over the business? Is it concern about client privacy? What is the objection that you most often see, or objections?
So I agree with you. I think that once they're at about that 10 million, they're really harboring their own growth if they're not bringing someone in. And that a lot of times the one man show or one man shop, as they like to call them, you are not going to be able to continue to grow and scale your business without that's definitely when you need to bring in your operations help. A lot of times I explain it like they're kind of on a merry-go-round and they can keep going around because they've obviously, most of them have been doing that for years and they're very successful and they've gotten to that level, but they're not going to get any further than that without bringing on some help. So that's where the admin effect can really come in and give them the most value for their time and money. Um, because we are able to just, um, integrate into their systems and be able to just turnkey it from day one, we're able to give the most, bang for their buck, so to speak. I think the biggest challenges or, no's that I see are, yes, the giving up the control because they have always done it themselves, and they're okay using an Excel spreadsheet and sticky notes, to track their business. And so when we start talking to them and explaining, you're using XYZ CRM system and it's capable of this, it's learning. And right, a lot of them have been doing it for a long time and it's hard to learn new things and it's hard to give up that control. So one of the things we provide with our elite service and with our prestige service is we give a data analysis of their business. So
Wow.
after we get in there and we're kind of learning their business for a few weeks, sometimes it's a few months, we can actually see where that growth is being stopped or hindered, where that bottleneck is. And so then we're able to provide that data analysis with suggestions on what can be changed.
Could you give an example of what that would look like, or what some of those what some of
Sure.
those
So
growth inhibitors might be. And this is great because one of the biggest things we try to do on IGO is find growth minded strategies, because that's who a majority of the advisors I work with and my team works with are focused on. They are growth minded advisors. They are looking to scale their businesses. So this would be a fascinating thing to hear what some of those discoveries are that you're making in the data or data analysis.
so one office I can think of off the top of my head came to us. It'll be about a year in January, and they were looking to issue about $1 million a week, so 52 million for the year of annuities. The time they came to us, it was a few hundred thousand a week, and it wasn't, even half of that near their goal. So we got in there, we started doing our integration process, which we have also branded integration for the admin effect. And
Fantastic.
I know it's
It's
fantastic.
really good branding.
So we started doing our data analysis. And over the course of a few weeks, I'd say about 2 or 3 months, we found that one of their huge bottlenecks was that the person who was opening up their AUM accounts was fine. But once it got to the person who was responsible for doing those rollover calls with the clients, she was weeks behind. And the issue with that is, A, when you're weeks behind, you're only one person. And sometimes those calls can take an hour or more each call. Secondly, by the time when you're behind like that, by the time you get to some of those clients and you're calling, sometimes or oftentimes you have to resell them because then a lot of time has passed and they're asking, why am I doing this again? Or what is this? So we kind of identified that bottleneck in their process. We also took over that part of their business and started doing those rollover calls. And in just a few short weeks, they were issuing that $1 million a week and have done so consecutively since.
Can you that's fantastic. Can I don't know if
Ah, that's a good one.
the the integration, are you is that where your problem, I'm guessing here, but where there's maybe an NDA or there's some type of formal agreement?
We always say for security reasons, we're not housing any of the information on our servers. We're actually logging in remotely to theirs. So all of the security and everything is still with their servers and
Wow.
CRM. So we're actually logging on to their systems because they're giving us, providing access and again, granting us an email address. I mean, we even go as far as if they have a telephone system, we like to have an app so that our area code can be the same as when we're calling clients. Because,
That's
in
so
this day
smart.
and age, nobody wants to answer a number they don't recognize. So we're here in North Carolina. If we have a client in California, they're not going to answer a Charlotte number. So we really try to cover all the bases to really make it a seamless and understandable process for the clients as well.
So you remote in. What a great idea. So almost like a third party IT would come into my computer and do what needs to be done to fix the things that I don't know how to do.
That's right.
Interesting. Okay. So $15 million producer, s- if they're at 15 million and they don't have somebody already in their office, we have a problem, but they need to have somebody in their office. That's another qualifier.
For sure.
We covered what some of the objections are and how we would overcome those objections. The and you obviously have proof of premium as well. When I say proof of premium, that in point of fact, by hiring someone, in this case the admin effect,
Mhm.
this office was able to go from a few hundred thousand
Mhm.
dollars on a weekly basis to a few million
That's
on a
right,
weekly basis.
and that's part of the analysis that we will provide them, after the integration, and then also quarterly. We provide them with that, operations analysis of their business, so they're really getting a view and a visual of their business and how it has grown and how we've helped them to succeed.
You're dealing with carriers and custodians on a daily basis. Do you feel that the technology, as well as the ability for custodians and carriers to talk to one another, do you feel like that's getting better?
Um, Somewhat. I think
Yeah.
part of the issue with carriers, again, it comes down to training. You're calling into these new business teams or even the rollover department, the transfer team, whoever it may be. And a lot of times they're perfectly pleasant and helpful. However, a lot of times they're not because they're just following the screen, right? And they're just reading the information and they're not understanding. I would say 9 times out of 10, when an advisor office or we receive a NIGO from a carrier, it's not a NIGO. They just haven't read far enough down on the page to see that the question will be answered a little bit further down. It's like they don't have the training as well to understand the process. And, one of the things that Caitlin is big on is question everything. Like, a lot of times people are very quick to just say, "Oh, nope, ABC's missing." Well, did you look to see if ABC is somewhere else in the application or in the information that you already have? So I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement at the carrier and custodians. But again, I think it's just a capacity issue and they have such volume.
Especially right now. We're in the golden age of annuities. Sales are increasing year over year. Some of the carriers are doing a lot of hiring. So there's not people always with decades of experience that you're talking to on the other end of the phone. And by you making those phone calls or you making those emails, or as Caitlin says, you asking those questions, that's more time for a rainmaker in an office to have another client meeting to hone their skills on their seminar, webinar, YouTube content. You're
So
freeing up their time.
exactly. So that is like my famous thing that I love to say to an advisor who's kind of not so sure and he's questioning. I love to tell them, Ben, they're not calling the admin effect to save money. They're calling me because they have a need and they need to save time. Now, if I can take off of your plate pre-filling your annuity applications, doing rollover AUM calls, and doing follow-ups, then I can save you 10 hours a week. With 10 hours a week, you, as Mr. Advisor, can probably do 2 more appointments, averaging $7,000 to $8,000 commission for a sale. So now I just made you $16,000 a week, 64,000 a month, right? So I cannot save you money, but I can save you time, which will create more money.
It's almost like an equation that I feel like business owners sometimes get a blind spot to,
Right.
right? By making this investment, it's not about are you saving money? It's that you're saving time and that time will manifest itself into more revenue or more freedom within your practice to spend more time with your family or any of the other things that we really promote here at SMS, and I'm sure you do at the admin effect as well.
Absolutely. And I love what you just said there. It's definitely an investment in their operations and in their business. If they're looking at it as an expense, it's not going to work. It's an investment in your business.
So you'll help with pre-filling. I'm assuming everyone on your staff is knowledgeable on suitability, and therefore, you can help an agent or an advisor, pardon me, perhaps even remodel a case in real time, saying, "Hey, we might need to take a little bit less premium relative from a suitability perspective," or "This case is dead on arrival
Correct.
based
Because
on
of their
our."
age or
Yeah,
they have too much or not enough liquid or whatever it might be. Yes, we are
before it even
very
goes to the
familiar.
client for
Yep,
signatures. That's
absolutely.
fantastic. Wow. So, okay, we'll include all of your contact information in the comments on YouTube so people can reach out to the admin effect. Uh, Anything else you feel like an advisor who's listening, who's at that $15 million mark, or that's their goal next year, they're getting close to it. Maybe they're exceeding it and they have one or two admins, but what is perhaps they need to do one of these data analyses because growth is inhibited. There's a bottleneck, as you said, somewhere.
Exactly. I encourage them just to have a conversation. I just love meeting people in our industry. I love talking to advisor offices and speaking to their staff and seeing, what their thoughts are. Again, just connecting with as many people in the industry as I can. Again, I encourage them just to have a conversation. Give me a call. We'll meet. I'll tell you some more funny Tay things. I also, a lot of times I say to people, it's okay if it's a no for right now. But then do you know how many people I have had that were a no right now that have circled back and it comes all the way back around? So sometimes it's a different concept for someone and they have to think about it. They have to kind of digest the information that I've given them and they have to think about it and if it's going to work for their business.
Sometimes the relationships in this business are just about fortuitous timing
Exactly.
when that need is right, or
Hmm.
when, they just dealt with another round of NIGOs on a
Hmm.
large batch of monthly business, and that keeps happening to them, and they know it's getting in their way. Heather, this was so helpful today. Before we call it, is there anything else you'd like to add about Tay, the admin effect, and the story? I think you've delivered a fantastic service, or are delivering a fantastic service, and I can't wait for SMS affiliated advisors who meet the thresholds, which we definitely have many, to take advantage of it.
Yeah. And again, I'm just honored. Thank you again for having me. And we are just, one of our main goals is to help advisors and their staff to have a happy, healthy work environment. So we're here to support them, be an extension of them, and to help them scale, grow, and succeed.
Excellent. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. If you have a colleague or friend who's in the business and you think they could benefit from hearing about Tay, the admin effect, and Heather and Caitlin's services, please forward this episode to them. In addition, please like, listen, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. On our next episode, which will not be for quite a few weeks as I am taking Thanksgiving off, we'll be talking about how business owners can maximize credit card points and how you can take that same information and use it to better manage cash flow for clients. Pretty cool stuff. Heather, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Ben. Thank you. Have a great holiday.
You too. Stay in good order, everybody.
Thanks.